Welcome to the Mendoza Podcast, financial talk that makes sense. I'm your Illinois State Comptroller, Susana Mendoza, and I want to help answer all the questions you have about money matters, but we're maybe afraid to ask. We're going to learn a lot and have some fun together. Hi, everyone. So for today's episode, we're going to dream big and have some fun. We've all done it, thought about what we would do if we struck it big in the lottery. Every time Powerball or Mega Millions rolls over from week to week, reaching astronomical jackpots that no one could ever spend in a lifetime, we think to ourselves, what would I buy? I mean, what would my life be like as a multi-millionaire? Well, today I brought in Illinois Lottery Director Harold Mays to help us learn more about these jackpots and what happens if someone is lucky enough to win. So, first of all, Director, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm hoping you can start us off with just a brief explanation of what is, in fact, the Illinois Lottery, and give us a quick overview.
Well, the Illinois Lottery is a state agency, and we've been in existence for 51 years. We actually just had our 50th anniversary last year, which...
I just turned 53.
Okay.
I'm a little bit older, not too much, but okay.
Just a tad.
It's very young, in other words. It's only been around 51 years.
It's young, and you were able to grow up with us as well.
I was.
And so we're a state agency, but our mission is to responsibly generate funding for K-12 education in Illinois through the Common School Fund.
So I was just going to ask you about that because so many people hear, hey, wasn't the lottery money supposed to go to education? Why are we still not properly funded for education? Walk us through how that is not nearly enough money, but how, in fact, it does go to education.
Yes, and most people don't know how much it takes to really fund education, and so we're glad to do our part, which is roughly 7 or 8% of that total bucket.
7 to 8%, so people understand it's not supposed to fully fund education.
Yeah, it'd be great if we did, but we don't have that, type of authority or capacity.
And so, what are some of the most popular games that people can play with the Illinois Lottery? What are like those most popular of all the games?
Well, and I'm glad you said all the games, because we sell well over 90 different games.
90 different games, wow.
Yeah, so it really depends on your preference, but the ones that get the most sort of visibility and notoriety are the ones like Powerball and Mega Millions, because those are national games that all state lotteries in the U.S. sell.
So I know that, is it the Mega Millions, and that's the one that just went up in price, right? From like $2 to $5?
We just went to a major game change, yes.
And is that across the nation? So
across
anyone who plays? And what are the states that participate in the Mega?
Well, there are 45 states in the U.S. that have lotteries, so all 45 participate in Mega Millions.
Okay. And how about with the Powerball?
And Powerball, all 45 participate in Powerball as well.
As well.
But that also includes D.C. and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Wow, so do you play?
No.
Well, you can't, right? Because you work for the lottery.
Yes.
People don't know this. I used to work for an advertising firm many years ago. Before I got into public service, I was in the private sector, and I worked at an advertising firm that actually did the advertising for the Illinois Lottery. Isn't that crazy? Small world.
It really is.
So I didn't get to play then either, because you're not allowed to play the lottery if you have any kind of connection to working with or for the lottery.
If you work directly for the lottery or your primary vendors, no, you can't.
Yep, so people know the fix is not in. It really is a game of chance.
It really is.
But on a serious note, we want to encourage responsible gambling, right? Because at the end of the day, playing the lottery is a form of gambling. We want people to be responsible with it, though. Does the lottery offer any kind of resources to help people that might have potential addiction problems?
Well, we do, and it comes in the framework that we practice as a lottery. Illinois Lottery is one of 9 states that are certified with the World Lottery Association at the level 4 certification, which is the highest responsible gaming certification in North America. And so with that, it has a framework that we follow for our retail partners as well as our players and employees to educate about playing responsibly, and also providing information for our players to access via our website and in our stores regarding a responsible play.
So when you go to play, for example, whether it's at a convenience store that you go and you buy your ticket, is there anywhere on the ticket that says if you have a problem with addiction, call this number or something like that, or on the signage at these places that sell the vendors?
Yes, yeah, every ticket has that signage on it, as well as in any sort of marketing materials that you see. They'll have our logo on the bottom, Be Smart, Play Smart, and the 1-800-GAMBLER number, which is the Illinois number for problem gambling resources.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you for that. So now on to the fun stuff, because that was, a little bit serious, but it's really important, right, to acknowledge that people do have problems, and we want to make sure that we're not creating this, dark industry there where people, instead of getting rich, become poor because they're not using, they might have an addiction issue. But the fun stuff is really where we want to get into. Walk us through the process if you are actually a winner, right? Because so many of us have played, I've played, I have never hit it. But if I did, what are you supposed to do? Let's start small. I mean, how do you get your money from just a simple scratch-off lottery ticket or something like the Lucky Day Lotto?
Well, the first thing I will say is that people actually do win, right?
Yeah, they do, of course. I hear it all the time.
And we paid out over $2 billion in prizes last year. So there's a lot of
$2 billion.
Yes. And so, but to your question, all players who win, if they win less than $600, they can get their tickets cashed in a retail store.
Okay.
And we have close to 7,000 locations throughout the state where they can go and cash in their prizes. So anything over $600, you actually have to come to us.
Okay.
At one of our 5 claim centers that we have throughout the state.
Where are those claim centers?
Well, we have one in Chicago, right down the street, actually.
Okay.
One in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Got it.
One in Rockford.
Nice.
One in Springfield, Illinois.
Okay.
And I have one in Springfield.
Yeah.
And one further south in Fairview Heights, Illinois.
Nice. I would say, do you have one in Southern Illinois? I mean, folks in Southern Illinois want to play too, right?
They do, and they can come to our location in Fairview Heights to get prizes paid over $600.
Nice. And so then what happens if you hit it big? I mean, what advice do you have for someone who is holding the winning ticket of a huge jackpot that will change their lives? What's that advice?
Take a deep breath. Get your wits about you. Sign your ticket.
Right away.
Right away.
Right away.
Because it's a bearer's instrument, so whoever has that ticket, has that ticket. And so sign it so that protects you and protects your claim.
Got it.
We advise that you get professional advice.
Sure.
If you win big, you want to kind of know what you want to do and how you're going to do it in terms of taxes, accounting, or saving, whatever you want to do.
Do you advise that people get a lawyer right away?
A lawyer or an accountant, a financial advisor would not hurt someone in that situation. For sure.
And you should do all that before claiming the money.
We suggest that you do.
Okay.
Everybody doesn't necessarily do that, but we suggest that they do.
Sure. And then what if you have multiple winners? Because obviously people have to pay taxes on this money if they win it, correct?
Yes.
So anything over $600, you're going to have to share the pot with Uncle Sam, yes?
Yes, you will.
All right. And then how does that work, though? So that's where your accountant comes into play and processes all that for you, or?
Well, that's part of the responsibility of the lottery to ensure that taxes are paid appropriately.
Oh, so taxes get withheld by the lottery before the winnings are given, is that correct? So you don't put that on the person. No. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, that would be.
Thank goodness. I could see a lot of people, I mean, it's bad enough that sometimes you hear about winners who, instead of it improving their lives, it's the opposite, right? But you can imagine if they were responsible for paying taxes, that would make it even worse, potentially, if you don't know how to manage finances.
Right, and who gets access to $1 million or more at one time. So it's a thing to adjust to and prepare your family
for. Sure. So previously, I remember back when I used to do the lottery on the advertising side, that we used to have these big, announcement sessions where the winners would be holding the huge check and everybody knew who they were. That used to be the case, but they don't announce the winners' names anymore, correct?
Not publicly. And players have an option now, whereas back then they didn't have a choice. Yeah. But in 2019, we were able to pass a law that allowed for players who win more than $250,000 to claim an anonymity.
Ah, gotcha. Which makes a lot of sense,
Well, and we see people taking advantage of that.
Yeah, now can you give us maybe some anecdotes of how different winners of like the big jackpots have handled their money? Like things they did with them that you know about that they may have shared?
Well, we have the joy of being able to talk to all of our players, and some of them share stories with us and some of them don't. But we haven't got nothing that you wouldn't expect.
Okay.
I want to buy a house. I want to pay all my bills off. I want to stop working. I want to, those are pretty common sort of things that people.
So no one's taken like the rocket, that with Amazon or whatever. What's the name of that? I forgot the name of it, but Blue something or other. Blue Origins, right? Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah, no one's doing that.
I haven't heard that story yet.
Maybe one of these days, right? But so, I want to go back to, I was thinking when you said sign your ticket right away, right? Mm-hmm. What if, let's say there's an office pool and there's multiple players and the one person who's holding the ticket, usually everybody else gets a copy of the ticket that was purchased. The person who's holding that ticket, though, signs the ticket, but should everybody else sign the ticket then before you go forward, or how does that work?
It's not necessary for them all to sign, particularly if they have an agreement in place to participate as a group.
Right, but it's not like it's a formal agreement, right? Everybody usually chips in, and then you pass out the photocopy of the ticket to everybody else. So that's typically how I've seen office pools work. Yeah. So is that valid? That's all the agreement that you need. If you're holding a photocopy of the winning ticket.
I would give you one slight caveat to that.
Yes.
If you win a prize over $1 million, we would want you to produce the partnership agreement for your group.
Yes.
So anything less than $1 million, the informal nature of that agreement between you and your parties is sufficient, but anything over $1 million, we would want to see a formal partnership agreement.
Right, so you don't have everybody sign the back of the ticket. It's just like saying, hey, we all chipped in. And because if you think about it, somebody then could take that photocopy and just make it for other friends that weren't part of the pool. So that's why I was wondering how that's handled.
Yeah, you really have to have trust to play in a group.
Sure.
But having the paper trail, as it were, of the purchase and the agreement between the parties is normally sufficient.
So I'm going to have to tell my staff we all pool together and we all initial it or something, right?
Well, yeah.
Might be the way to do it.
It can't hurt, but we'll process it for the agreement.
I've yet to win anything though. Whenever I play the lottery,
not even $2.
I mean, I've won like $2 here and there. Right. I think I did one the other day where I won $1 because I got the Powerball. There's one, right? If you just get the one number, or I think it was Mega Millions, but whatever that multiplier. Yeah, that. I got one, and I looked, and I think I get $1 or $2, something like that. But whatever. What I was going to say though is that the concept of winning this money, like people dream about it. They think, oh my goodness, my life would be so great. I could do so many things. Do you have any horror stories though of people that have won this like gigantic amount of money and have blown through all of it, or have had issues with family or friends that come out of the woodwork? And why do you think that is, Well,
I've been working at the lottery for 12 years, and I will have to say the overwhelming majority of stories are not that.
That's great.
But I do recall a case, though, maybe 10 years ago, when there was a family situation where a winner had an issue with his wife or his ex-wife or something like that really turned out bad.
Kind of nasty. I could see it, I always think it's sad when I hear of stories of people who win the lotto or whatever, this huge amount of money, and then family, of course, that never was around, right? All of a sudden, like all the family comes out of the woodwork and, wants a piece of that pie, which is, really why I can imagine that people would want to keep it anonymous, right? And go about doing their normal business, maybe philanthropic donations or make an impact with their money without people necessarily knowing that they have all this additional cash. Not to mention from a security perspective, right? Like it changes your life, and we only think of like the fun stuff, but it's also got to be a little bit scary to come in that kind of money and have people know where you live or who you are and how much money, that kind of stuff. So I do think, to your point, really educating yourself before you cash that ticket in. And am I right that you have up to a year to do that?
You have up to a year to cast.
Yeah, so you should really take your time to educate yourself on what the potential ramifications are of this, from either a financial, a tax, but also a legal and a safety perspective, right? Because your life is definitely going to change if you hit one of those $300 million jackpots.
It really is. And I think most people do the right thing, or they realize that, and they take the necessary steps to protect themselves and their family.
Yeah, because a lot of the folks that win this maybe have no financial background, right? They've never had this kind of money come into play. And so it has to be overwhelming, and also trusting even people that you would hire to manage this correctly. I'm assuming there's unscrupulous people out there too. So it's just a scary situation. But if let's say, one of my friends were to win the lotto tomorrow and a huge amount of money, can they go to your office, for example, and say, do you guys have a list of recommended financial advisors? Is that something that doesn't happen at that level?
Well, and we don't offer that. We
Got
don't
it.
want to put ourselves in the middle of that. That would compromise. Yeah.
I can imagine, but it's also then kind of scary to think, how do you even start, right? Where do you go? So where would you recommend? Well, I guess you probably can't, is the whole point of this question. You can't recommend people go to a certain bank or something like that. But is that what maybe they should do, is just start off by going to their bank where they normally do their business to ask, are they allowed to give people financial advice in terms of advisors that they can talk to or meet with for this type of thing? Or accountants, where maybe people file their own taxes. But if you win the lotto, you're going to need to get an accountant.
You would want to have somebody that you have a fiduciary relationship with to give you advice.
Got it. So,
and somebody that's there for your best interest financially, and you orchestrated that agreement.
Got it. And so I talked about the horror story that could go wrong, but is there a story that really warms your heart of someone who won the lotto or a really big prize and it's just a great story to share, right? There's got to be a ton of those.
Well, and we do actually a pretty good job at doing winner awareness, and you may see some of our stories out at least once or twice a week. We're talking about a winner, and although a lot of players claim anonymity, but they still talk to us.
Sure. So you have an idea of this person was super poor, but they always volunteered their time to help people even worse off than them. And it's the most awesome person that you would want to win, right? I've got to believe those are just amazing stories that make you think this job is so great that you get to change people's lives, who are then, instead of hoarding this money, going to try to help other people's lives because it's what they've done their whole life, right? I've got to believe that's got to feel really good.
It really does. I mean, it's one of the benefits of the job to know that you have that ability, or that the work that you do enables those kind of things to happen.
And then, talk to me a little bit about, you always dream about, I'm going to win this thing big. But then there's sometimes one winner, and it's again, just an unreal amount of money. And other times there's 10 or 15 winners, and they're from all over the country. How does that work? How do they split up that pot?
Well, when there is multiple winners, and in those cases, you may be talking about one or two winners, because they have the same numbers and they both win.
Okay.
We've had situations of both ways where there are one or two big winners, and we've had office pools that have won in the past. And so we treat it the same way.
Okay, as if they were one or two winners or 15 winners.
Yes, we process them all the same way, and we make sure they all get their money and follow the process.
So it's just an even split, whatever it is. And then how does that work with if you hit every single number and then you have the multiplier? Walk me through that, because I find that very confusing. So if you pay the extra little bit and you have a multiplier of 2, do you get twice as much money at the end of the day versus the person who just hit it straight without the multiplier?
For all non-jackpot levels, yes.
Yes.
And that's one of the key changes that we made to Mega Millions recently. So with the price increase, there's a megaplier on every play. So every non-jackpot prize that you win is multiplied by that multiplier.
So what's the multiplier? What's as high of a multiplier as you can get?
It's random from 2x to 10x.
What?
Yeah.
So then let's say there's 5 people that won, but only one person that got the 10x. So do you get the 10x off of what the prize says it is, or the 10x of what's left after dividing it up amongst all the winners?
Well, it's 10x off the prize that you won. And for anything...
So even if other people got the exact same numbers, but just didn't have the multiplier?
Right, for non-jackpot prizes, yes.
Wow, that is crazy. And so so it's randomly selected what the multiplier is. You say, I want a multiplier, and then the little quick picky thing picks it for you?
Well, for Mega Millions, it's it's automatic. It's built in, so you don't have to make a choice. It's already built into the play.
And which is the one that does the random selection up to 10?
The selection is random for Mega Millions.
Oh, got it, okay.
Right, and so for Powerball, you can add it as an add-on.
Got it. So it's like $2 extra or whatever. Did the price on the Powerball go up, or was it just the Mega Millions?
It's just Mega.
Got it. And then what are the pros and cons of taking like a jackpot versus a lump sum? I mean, I should say the jackpot. What are the pros and cons of taking the jackpot as a lump sum or an annuity?
Well, it really depends on your preference. It's technically the same amount. And the lump sum is just based on that annuity value paid out minus the taxes.
I mean, I would want it now, and then I'd put it to work in the stock market or something like that, some other investment vehicle. So that's what most people get. In the past, did people get them more to have this like annual income that they can depend on no matter what?
You know, we did see more of that in the past, but not still overwhelmingly people take the lump sum.
Got it.
And let me clarify, not taxes, but the value of that annuity.
Sure. Okay.
So what the value now enables you to buy an annuity for. So.
Got it. Yeah. No. How would you, if you were able to win, what would you do? Personally.
Personally, I would probably take the lump sum.
Yeah, me too.
If I won big, and then I would invest it myself.
Yep. I think a lot of people, though, maybe, and certainly like when I was like a kid, and our family was like, oh, can you imagine if you won it? And my dad would always say, well, I would take the lump sum and invest it. But people who don't really know how to manage money either, they might feel this sense of security in knowing that every year you're going to get like a big chunk of money, and you don't have to worry like about spending it all and losing it, right? You know that every year there's going to be some money there for you as a security blanket. But I guess it just depends on what your situation is, right?
It depends, and another interesting tidbit about annuities is that some players end up selling their annuity. Then it makes sense because I want to make sure I don't spend it all or da-da-da-da. Maybe they get into year 2 or 3 and say, no, I really want as much money out of this now as I can get. And then they sell their annuity to someone to get that cash.
Interesting. They can't go back to the lottery and say, you know what, I changed my mind and I'd rather take the difference. And interesting. So choose wisely.
Choose
wisely. Do you want the lump sum, or because you get one crack at it, one bite at the apple?
One bite to get the maximum amount of the value of the prize. Because anything after that, you're probably going to make less than you would have made if you made the right choice up front.
Nice. And then my last question is going to be, out of the 45 states that we participate in, where does Illinois rank in the most number of winners? Do you know?
That's a good question.
It's a good question, right? I wish we were number one.
Well, as it relates to Mega Millions or Powerball?
Yeah. Like, what's the state that has like the luckiest draws on like in terms of people playing and winning?
Well, I would.
It's a curveball I threw at you.
It's a little curveball, but
it's a mega ball I just threw at you.
What I can say is that for Mega Millions, California has more jackpot wins.
Well, just because you have more people, right?
Yeah,
yes.
The population does help. You have 40 million people. You got a lot more people playing.
Sure.
Where Illinois ranks, that's a good question. I can't.
Yeah.
I got to do some digging.
That's fun.
That one.
Like, because we're kind of very similar in population to Pennsylvania. Are they one of the ones that play?
Yeah, they play.
In terms of like the amount of people. It's like a very similar kind of state demographically and also population-wise. But, relative, you would expect New York or California to be the two big ones. But, are we three? Curious.
Well, we have more than Pennsylvania.
We have what?
We have more than Pennsylvania.
High five right here. Way to go, Director. All right, well, I just want to thank you so much for joining us here today, Director Mays. This was great. I hope people learned. And, while the odds of becoming a millionaire aren't always in our favor, clearly they're not in mine, okay? But, as I say, if you don't play, you can't win, right? So all of us dream big, but you have to take an action. And in this case, I always said, if I want to win the lottery, I better play the lottery. Just play responsibly. Still fun, of course, to dream about winning that huge windfall. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you all next week for more financial talk that makes sense.